Dr. Marcus Chen stepped off the transport shuttle and onto Thessaran soil for the first time. The air felt different here, thicker, warmer, carrying scents he couldn't identify. Above him, twin suns cast purple shadows across the landing platform. This was it. Humanity's first real chance to join the galactic community. "Stay close to the group, Dr. Chen," Ambassador Williams reminded him. The older woman looked nervous, constantly adjusting her formal jacket. "We can't afford any mistakes here." Marcus nodded, clutching his data tablet. As the team's xenoanthropologist, his job was simple: observe, document, and don't touch anything. The Thessaran Empire had ruled this sector of space for 10,000 years. Humans were newcomers, barely noticed until their faster-than-light technology caught someone's attention. The Thessaran Welcoming Committee stood waiting. They were tall, nearly 7 feet, with skin that shimmered like pearl and eyes that held depths Marcus couldn't read. Their leader bowed slightly, a gesture the human delegation quickly returned. "Welcome, humans of Earth," the Thessaran official said through the translation device. "Queen Shivara has granted you great honor. You will witness the ceremony of eternal bonds tonight." The humans exchanged excited glances. This was more than they'd hoped for. Being invited to a royal ceremony meant the Thessarans were taking them seriously. Hours later, Marcus found himself in the grand hall of the Imperial Palace. The chamber was massive, with walls that seemed to shift colors in the light. Thousands of Thessarans filled the space, all dressed in elaborate robes that marked their houses and ranks. The human delegation sat in a special section, clearly visible to everyone. "What exactly is this ceremony?" Marcus whispered to his colleague, Dr. Yuki Tanaka. "The translator AI says it's some kind of important royal event," Yuki whispered back. "Something about bonds and unity. The details are unclear." Queen Shivara entered, and the entire hall fell silent. She was breathtaking, not in a human way, but in the way a storm or a mountain inspires awe. Her presence filled the room. She wore robes of deep blue that seemed to flow like water and a crown of crystal that caught the light. Marcus activated his recording equipment, determined to capture every detail. This was history in the making. The ceremony began with music that resonated in Marcus's chest. Thessaran priests chanted in their ancient language, while the queen stood at the center of a circular platform. Lights danced around her, forming patterns Marcus recognized from his studies. Sacred geometry, similar to what many Earth cultures used. Then something unexpected happened. The Queen's advisor gestured toward the human section. Marcus felt dozens of eyes turned toward them. "Dr. Marcus Chen," the translator device announced. "You are called to witness from the Circle of Honor." Ambassador Williams grabbed his arm. "What's happening?" "I don't know," Marcus said, heart pounding. "But refusing might insult them." He stood and walked forward, very aware that he was probably the first human to ever stand in this sacred space. The Thessaran crowd watched him with expressions he couldn't read. Curiosity, disgust, interest. A priest guided him to a spot near the queen, but not too close. Marcus bowed respectfully, trying to remember every protocol he'd studied. The queen acknowledged him with a slight nod. The ceremony continued. More chanting, more lights. Marcus recorded everything, fascinated by the ritual's complexity. Then the queen began to move through a series of precise gestures. Each movement seemed to mean something, though Marcus didn't understand what. At one point, she extended her hand. Palm up, fingers slightly curved. The gesture looked friendly, universal even, like an invitation or greeting. Marcus's translator device suddenly crackled with static. The screen flickered. He tapped it, trying to restore function, but it went dead. Around the room, he noticed other devices failing too, some kind of interference from the ceremony itself. Without the translator, Marcus was lost. He understood nothing of the words being spoken. The Queen's hand remained extended. The crowd waited. Everyone seemed to be looking at him. Was this part of the ceremony? A gesture of friendship between species? The Queen's expression was neutral, but her hand stayed offered. Marcus made a choice. He'd studied enough human cultures to know that refusing an extended hand was often an insult. Better to accept a friendly gesture than risk offense. He stepped forward and gently took the Queen's hand. The moment their skin touched, the world exploded with light. Energy surged through Marcus's body, warm and electric. He gasped, unable to let go even if he wanted to. The Queen's eyes widened, the first real emotion he'd seen from her. Around them, the sacred patterns flared brilliant white. Something was happening, something big. The light faded. Marcus stumbled backward, releasing the Queen's hand. His mind felt strange, like someone had opened a door he didn't know existed, and through that door, he sensed her, the Queen. Her surprise, her shock, her emotions flowing into his awareness. The hall erupted into chaos. Thesserans were shouting. Some seemed angry, others looked terrified. The priests rushed forward, examining the light patterns that still glowed faintly around Marcus and the Queen. "What did you do?" one of them demanded in perfect English, grabbed from Marcus's own mind somehow. I don't know," Marcus stammered. "I thought it was a greeting. I didn't mean—" "The bond," another priest whispered, horror in their voice. "The eternal bond. It's complete." Ambassador Williams rushed to Marcus's side. "What's going on? What bond?" The head priest turned to face the crowd, making an announcement in Thesseran. Marcus still couldn't understand the words, but he felt the Queen's reaction, a carefully controlled wave of dismay and resignation. Through the strange connection now linking them, Marcus understood something terrible had happened. He hadn't witnessed a ceremony. He'd completed one, and there was no going back. 3 weeks had passed since the ceremony, and Marcus still couldn't believe his situation. He sat in his assigned quarters within the imperial palace, staring at the walls that had become his prison and home. The bond, as the Thesserans called it, was real, terrifyingly real. He could feel Queen Shivara's presence constantly, like a warm glow at the edge of his mind. When she was angry, his chest tightened. When she was calm, peace washed over him. The priests said it would only grow stronger with time. Eventually, they would be able to share thoughts, not just feelings. "This is insane," Marcus muttered, pacing his room. "I'm a scientist, not a royal consort." A soft knock interrupted his thoughts. Yuki entered, carrying food and news from the human delegation. "How are you holding up?" she asked, setting down a tray. "I can feel someone else's emotions in my head, Yuki. How do you think I'm holding up?" "Fair point." She sat down, her expression serious. "The delegation is trying to negotiate your release, but it's not going well. According to Thesseran law, the bond is sacred and permanent. Breaking it means death for both people involved." Marcus felt his stomach drop. "Both? So if they kill me, the Queen dies too. Which is probably the only reason you're still alive." Yuki pulled out her tablet. "Some of the noble houses are furious. They're calling you an alien contamination. There's a faction that wants you gone, consequences or not." "What does the Queen say?" "She's been silent publicly, but she did grant you protection status. No one can harm you without facing her directly." Yuki paused. "Marcus, you need to be careful. Palace politics here are deadly, literally." After Yuki left, Marcus decided he couldn't just hide in his room. He needed to understand this world, these people, and the bond that tied him to their queen. He started walking through the palace corridors, noting everything with his trained anthropologist's eye. The Thessaran servants watched him with mixed reactions, some curious, some hostile. He tried to smile and nod respectfully, remembering that he represented all of humanity here. That evening, Marcus was summoned to a formal banquet. Ambassador Williams briefed him quickly. "Just sit quietly, eat nothing unless the Queen approves it first, and don't speak unless spoken to," she instructed. "Half the noble houses will be there. They're looking for any excuse to prove you're unworthy." The banquet hall was magnificent. Long tables stretched across the room, filled with foods Marcus couldn't identify. Noble Thessarans in elaborate robes filled every seat. At the head table sat Queen Shivara, regal and distant. Marcus was placed beside her, a position that earned him hostile glares from several nobles. Through the bond, he felt her awareness of him, though she didn't look his way. The meal began with speeches. Lord Kethras, leader of the Council of Great Houses, stood and addressed the room. "We gather tonight to celebrate our empire's strength," he said, his voice smooth but cold. "Even in these unusual times." Several nobles glanced at Marcus. The message was clear. As courses were served, Marcus paid attention to everything. His training had taught him to notice patterns, read body language, understand social dynamics. And something felt wrong. He watched the servants carefully. Most moved with practiced efficiency, but 3 servers near the Queen's table seemed nervous. Their hands shook slightly. They kept glancing at each other. Marcus's pulse quickened. Through the bond, he sent a wordless feeling toward Shivara. Alert, warning, danger. He didn't know if she'd understand. The Queen's posture shifted almost imperceptibly. She'd received something. One of the nervous servants approached with a covered dish. He placed it before the Queen and lifted the lid. Fragrant steam rose into the air. Marcus noticed the other 2 servants moving into position, blocking the ventilation ports. His anthropology training kicked in. He'd studied Earth's assassination attempts throughout history. Poison gas was a classic method. The steam wasn't just steam. Without thinking, Marcus grabbed the dish and threw it across the room. At the same moment, he pulled Shivara down from her chair. The hall erupted in chaos. Guards rushed forward. The 3 servants tried to run but were caught immediately. The steam had already made several nearby nobles sick, coughing and gasping. Shivara stood, Marcus's hand still gripping her arm. Through the bond, he felt her shock, then understanding, then something else. Respect. "Explain yourself, human," Lord Kethras demanded, though his eyes showed calculation, not anger. Marcus pointed to the captured servants. "Watch their body language. Fear. Guilt. They knew what was in that dish, and those 2 were blocking the air vents, standard procedure for gas attacks on Earth." The guards interrogated the servants. Within minutes, they confessed. A faction of nobles had planned to kill the Queen and blame the chaos on human interference, giving them an excuse to sever ties with Earth and seize power. The banquet ended abruptly. Shivara dismissed everyone except Marcus. They stood alone in her private chamber, the first time they'd truly been alone since the ceremony. "You saved my life," she said, studying him with those deep, unreadable eyes. "The bond warned me something was wrong. I just noticed the details. My guards didn't notice, my advisors didn't notice. But you, a human who's been here less than a month, saw what we missed." She moved closer. "How?" Marcus considered his answer carefully. "Humans live shorter lives than Thessarans. We evolved on a dangerous planet. We had to become quick thinkers, pattern recognizers, survivors. We noticed small changes because missing them meant death." "Fast thinkers," Shivara repeated. "We Thessarans are powerful, but we think in longer terms. We miss immediate threats." "Different strengths," Marcus offered. She looked at him for a long moment. Through the bond, he felt her emotions shifting, the resentment fading, replaced by curiosity and something warmer. "The council will demand a trial," she finally said. "They'll want to test whether you're worthy to remain bonded to me. The challenges will be designed to make you fail." "What happens if I fail?" "We both die." Marcus took a deep breath. "Then I won't fail." For the first time, the Queen smiled, small, but genuine. Perhaps this bond was not entirely a mistake, Marcus Chen. The Council of Great Houses assembled in the Hall of Judgment. Marcus stood before them, acutely aware that his life, and the Queen's, depended on what happened next. Lord Kethris rose from his seat, his pearl-like skin catching the light. "Dr. Marcus Chen of Earth, you have been bonded to our Queen through ceremony, but ceremony alone does not prove worthiness. You will face 3 trials." Marcus felt Shivara's presence through the bond. She sat on her throne, forced to watch, forbidden from helping. Her concern flowed into him like a quiet current. "The first trial," Kethris continued, "is the test of strategic wisdom. You will command our forces in a war simulation that has defeated our greatest military minds for 300 years. You have 5 days. They led Marcus to a massive chamber filled with holographic displays. The simulation showed star systems, fleet positions, and enemy forces. The scenario was brutal, defending 3 colonies against an overwhelming invasion with limited resources. Marcus studied the setup for hours. The Thessaran military doctrine was impressive, but rigid. Their strategies followed patterns, always seeking honorable direct confrontation. The enemy in the simulation knew this and exploited it perfectly. But Marcus had something the Thessarans didn't: thousands of years of human military history stored in his tablet. Humans had never fought fair when survival was at stake. He began implementing guerrilla tactics. Instead of meeting the enemy head-on, he ordered hit-and-run attacks. He used civilian ships as decoys, making the enemy waste resources on false targets. He employed psychological warfare, sending false communications to create confusion. The Thessaran observers watched in confusion and growing interest. On the 3rd day, Marcus executed his final strategy, something borrowed from ancient Earth naval warfare. He pretended to retreat, drawing the enemy fleet into a nebula where their sensors were useless. Then he attacked from 3 sides simultaneously, using the chaos to maximum advantage. The simulation ended. Victory in 3 days, not 5. The council chamber fell silent. Lord Kethras's expression was unreadable. Unconventional, dishonorable by our standards, but effective. Through the bond, Marcus felt Shivara's pride mixed with surprise. She was impressed. "The second trial begins tomorrow," Kethris announced. "The test of physical endurance." The next morning, they transported Marcus to the wilderness of Thessara Prime. The region was known as the Burning Barrens, a desert of red sand and scorching heat, where criminals were once exiled. "You must survive here for 7 days, a guard explained, handing him only a water container. "Most Thessarans cannot last 3 days in this heat. We expect you will be begging for rescue by nightfall." They left him alone under the twin suns. Marcus assessed his situation. The heat was intense, but not as bad as Earth's deserts. Humans had evolved as persistence hunters in African savannas. Heat endurance was literally built into his DNA. He remembered survival training from his university days. Find shade during peak heat, travel at dawn and dusk, conserve water, look for signs of moisture in plants and rock formations. The first day was challenging but manageable. Marcus found a cave system that provided shelter. He noticed insects gathering near certain rocks, a sign of underground water. He dug carefully and found a small spring. By the 3rd day, he'd established a routine. He explored the area, mapping resources, and discovering edible plants that even the Thessaran databases didn't mention. He built simple tools from rocks and branches. Through the bond, he felt Shivara's constant awareness. Sometimes he sent her feelings of determination. Other times he shared the small victories, finding water, catching food, watching a beautiful alien sunset. She began sending back her own strength. The bond worked both ways, he realized. When he felt exhausted, her energy helped him continue. When she felt anxious in the palace, his calm reassured her. On the 7th day, the guards returned, expecting to find him barely alive. Instead, Marcus had not only survived, but thrived. He'd created detailed maps, documented new species, and identified mineral deposits that could benefit Thessaran colonies. The lead guard stared at him in disbelief. "Impossible. You look healthy." "Humans are very good at not dying," Marcus said with a tired smile. Back at the palace, the council gathered once more. Lord Kethras reviewed Marcus's survival records and discoveries. 2 trials passed, he admitted grudgingly, but the final trial is the most important, the test of true bonding. Shivara stood from her throne. Through the bond, Marcus felt her anxiety spike. "You will both enter the arena of truth," Kethras explained. "There, you will face challenges that test your compatibility as bonded partners. Combat, cooperation, synchronized decision-making. If you cannot function as one unit, the bond is deemed false." "And if it's false?" Marcus asked, though he already knew the answer. "Then you both die. No bond has ever been declared false and allowed to survive. It would be seen as a cosmic mistake that must be corrected." That night, Shivara summoned Marcus to her private training room. It was the first time they'd been alone since the banquet. "The arena is designed to break pairs," she said quietly. "It adapts to exploit weaknesses. Many Thessaran couples have failed despite loving each other for years." "Then we need to practice," Marcus said. "We need to learn how to work together through the bond." They trained for hours. Shivara taught Marcus basic Thessaran combat techniques, though his human body couldn't match her strength or speed. In return, Marcus showed her human tactics, unpredictability, using an opponent's strength against them, adapting quickly to changing situations. Through the bond, they began to synchronize. When Shivara moved left, Marcus instinctively covered her right. When he spotted a weakness, she felt his intention before he spoke. "You're faster at processing information than we are," she observed during a break. "You see patterns and solutions almost immediately. And you're stronger, more powerful. You can execute plans I couldn't manage alone." She looked at him thoughtfully. "We are very different, Marcus Chen. Maybe that's our advantage." The day of the final trial arrived. Marcus and Shivara stood at the entrance to the arena of truth. Through the bond, he felt her fear, not of death, but of failing him. He sent back determination and something else he was only beginning to understand: trust. "Together," Marcus said softly. "Together," Shivara agreed. They entered the arena side by side, ready to face whatever came next. The arena of truth was unlike anything Marcus had imagined. The massive circular space shimmered with energy, its walls shifting between solid matter and pure light. Thousands of Thessarans filled the viewing galleries above, watching in silence. Lord Kethras's voice echoed through the arena. "The trials begin. Survive together or fall together." The floor beneath them suddenly dropped away. Marcus and Shivara fell through darkness, landing hard on a new surface. Around them, the environment materialized, a burning forest with flames reaching toward a darkening sky. "First challenge," Shivara said, helping Marcus to his feet. "Escape together. If we separate, we fail." The flames spread quickly, cutting off paths in every direction. Marcus's mind raced, analyzing patterns in the fire's movement. Through the bond, he felt Shivara's raw power ready to be unleashed. "There," Marcus pointed to a section where the flames pulsed in rhythm. "The fire follows a pattern. Between pulses, we have 3 seconds. I can't move that fast carrying you, Shivara said. You don't have to carry me, just clear the path. I'll follow. She understood immediately. Using her strength, Shivara tore through burning debris while Marcus timed their movements perfectly. They moved as one, her power, his precision. They escaped the forest just as it collapsed behind them. The arena shifted again. Now they stood in a chamber with dozens of doorways. A voice spoke. Only one door leads forward. Choose wrong, and both suffer. Marcus studied the doors while Shivara watched for threats. Through the bond, they shared observations without speaking. Marcus noticed temperature differences. Shivara sensed energy fluctuations her species could detect. Together, they eliminated options. Marcus's analytical thinking combined with Shivara's intuitive understanding of Thessaran technology. They chose a door and passed through safely. Challenge after challenge came. Each one required both their strengths. When combat was needed, Shivara fought while Marcus directed her movements, spotting dangers she couldn't see. When puzzles appeared, Marcus solved them while she protected him from the arena's attacks. The bond grew stronger with each success. They began anticipating each other's thoughts. When Shivara needed support, Marcus was already moving. When Marcus needed strength, her energy flowed through the bond. In the viewing galleries, the crowd's hostility began to shift. Even the nobles who hated Marcus couldn't deny what they were witnessing. Perfect synchronization between two beings from different worlds. Then came the final challenge, the Crucible. The arena transformed into a massive holographic display showing Thessara Prime under attack. Enemy ships surrounded the planet. Millions of lives hung in the balance. A voice spoke. The Empire can be saved, but only by severing your bond. The energy released will power the planetary shields. Choose your bond or your people. Marcus felt Shivara's anguish through their connection. Every bonded pair in Thessaran history had faced this choice. Most chose themselves and failed. A few chose sacrifice and succeeded, but died in the process. There has to be another way, Marcus said, studying the scenario. There isn't, Shivara replied, her voice breaking. I've read the histories. This is the ultimate test of worthiness. We must be willing to sacrifice everything. No. Marcus refused to accept it. His human mind rejected the binary choice. This is a simulation, right? It's testing us, not giving us a real scenario. What difference does that make? Every difference. Marcus's thoughts raced. Thessarans think in absolutes, honor or dishonor, victory or defeat, bond or empire. But humans, we're survivors. We find third options. Through the bond, he shared his entire thought process with Shivara. The scenario assumed they'd use the bond's energy destructively. But what if they used it constructively? The bond connects us, Marcus explained rapidly. It's energy, consciousness, connection. What if instead of breaking it, we expanded it? Shivara's eyes widened. Connected to the planetary defense grid. Using your knowledge of Thessaran technology and my ability to see unconventional solutions. They acted together, their minds completely unified through the bond. Shivara accessed the simulation's defense systems with her royal codes. Marcus reprogrammed the energy distribution using principles from human electrical engineering. Instead of destroying their bond, they channeled its energy pattern as a template, showing the defense grid how to synchronize with the planet's natural electromagnetic field. The shields powered up without requiring any sacrifice. The simulation froze, then shattered. The arena returned to its neutral state. The crowd sat in stunned silence. Lord Kethras stood slowly, his expression unreadable. In 10,000 years, he said quietly, no pair has ever solved the crucible without choosing sacrifice. You found a third path. Because we're different species, Marcus said, still holding Shivara's hand. We think differently. Together we see possibilities neither could see alone. Before Kethris could respond, alarms blared throughout the arena. Guards rushed into the chamber, their faces showing panic. "My queen!" one shouted. "The Cortax Dominion! Their fleet has entered our system! And our own ships! Many aren't responding to commands! They're not moving to defend!" Shivara's expression turned cold. "Betrayal! The noble houses!" Kethris's face darkened. "Not all of us, Your Majesty. But yes, some houses have been compromised. They planned this invasion, timing it for when you were occupied with the trials." Through the bond, Marcus felt Shivara's rage and fear, not for herself, but for her people. He squeezed her hand. "How long until the Cortax fleet reaches the Sarah Prime?" he asked. 4 hours, a guard reported. "And with half our forces compromised, we don't have enough ships to defend the planet." The arena's viewing galleries erupted into chaos. Nobles shouted accusations at each other. Some fled. Others demanded action. Marcus looked at Shivara. Through the bond, an understanding passed between them. They had just proven they could solve impossible problems together. "We just passed every trial your culture could create," Marcus said. "Now let's pass the real test." Shivara nodded, her expression fierce and determined. She raised her voice, commanding silence. "Lord Kethras, summon every loyal house. Marcus Chen, contact your human delegation immediately." She stood tall, every inch the queen. "This bond was meant to unite us. Now it will unite our peoples. We will show the Cortax Dominion what happens when they threaten a queen and her consort." Marcus felt pride surge through the bond, not just hers, but his own. They had 4 hours to save a planet. The real trial was just beginning. The war room of the Imperial Palace buzzed with controlled chaos. Holographic star maps filled the air, showing the approaching Cortax fleet as red dots closing in on Thessera Prime. Loyal Thesseran commanders stood alongside human delegates, an unprecedented alliance born of desperate necessity. Marcus studied the tactical display while Shivara coordinated her remaining forces. Through the bond, they shared information constantly, his strategic insights flowing to her, her understanding of Thessaran military capabilities flowing to him. "The Cortax have studied our tactics for centuries," Admiral Theron reported grimly. "They know how we fight. They know our formations, our honor codes, our standard responses." "Then we don't fight like Thesserans," Marcus said. Everyone turned to look at him. "We fight like humans." Ambassador Williams stepped forward. "Dr. Chen, what are you proposing?" "Humanity has fought thousands of wars on Earth. We've never had superior technology or greater strength. We survived by being unpredictable, creative, and willing to try anything." Marcus pulled up Earth's military database on the holographic display. "I'm proposing we share everything, every strategy, every tactic, every crazy idea humanity ever used in battle." Lord Kethris, who had revealed his loyalty to the Queen during the crisis, nodded slowly. "Unconventional warfare, like you used in the simulation trial." "Exactly. The Cortax expect Thessaran discipline and honor. We give them human chaos instead." Shivara made her decision. "Do it. Admiral Theron, integrate Dr. Chen's strategies into our battle plans. Ambassador Williams, I need every human in this system ready to assist however they can." The next 3 hours were frantic. Marcus worked directly with Thesseran fleet commanders, teaching them tactics that went against every instinct. Feint retreats, misdirection, asymmetric strikes, false communications to confuse enemy coordination. The human delegation contributed everything they had: supply ships, communication relays, even civilian volunteers who knew how to operate Thesseran equipment after weeks of cultural exchange. Through it all, Marcus and Shivara remained connected through the bond. When he needed to understand Thesseran ship capabilities faster, her knowledge filled his mind. When she needed to make split-second tactical decisions, his strategic thinking guided her. 1 hour until engagement range, a technician announced. Marcus noticed something on the display. Wait, these compromised Thessaran ships, the ones working with the Cortax. They're still using your military communication protocols, right? Yes, Admiral Theron confirmed. They think their encryption changes have locked us out. But they don't know about human cybersecurity techniques. Marcus grinned. On Earth, we've been hacking each other's systems for centuries. Yuki, can you access their network? Dr. Tanaka, who had been assisting with communications, nodded enthusiastically. If we combine Thessaran encryption knowledge with human infiltration methods, yes, I think I can. Within 30 minutes, they had backdoor access to the traitor fleet's communications. Marcus proposed a daring plan: use the compromised ships against the Cortax by feeding them false information. Shivara approved immediately. Through the bond, Marcus felt her growing confidence in him, in them, in what they could accomplish together. The Cortax fleet entered weapons range. The battle began. Marcus coordinated from the war room, while Shivara commanded from the palace's strategic center. Through the bond, they functioned as one commander with two perspectives. It was like nothing either species had ever seen. The loyal Thessaran ships engaged using completely unexpected tactics. Instead of honorable formation fighting, they scattered and reformed unpredictably. They used civilian traffic patterns to hide military movements. They broadcast false surrender signals, then ambushed enemies who approached. The Cortax commanders were confused. This wasn't how Thessarans fought. Meanwhile, Yuki had infiltrated the traitor fleet's network. At Marcus's signal, she sent false orders that broke their formations and created gaps in their defensive positions. Now, Marcus said through the communication link, Admiral Theron, execute strategy Thermopylae. It was a tactic from ancient Earth. Hold a narrow position with minimal forces while the main fleet repositioned. 3 Thessaran destroyers held a checkpoint between 2 moons, making the Cortax believe that was the main defensive line. When the enemy committed their forces to break through, Shivara's main fleet attacked from above and below simultaneously, using the moon's gravity wells to accelerate to speeds the Cortax hadn't anticipated. The tide of battle turned, but the Cortax admiral was no fool. He regrouped and prepared a final massive assault on the planet itself. If they couldn't win cleanly, they'd do maximum damage. Marcus saw the formation, and his blood ran cold. They're going to ram the capital city, suicide strike with their flagship. Through the bond, he felt Shivara's determination. Then we stopped them together. She had one final card to play. Broadcasting across all channels, Shivara addressed not just the Thessaran Empire, but the entire sector of space. I am Queen Shivara of the Thessaran Empire. Beside me stands Marcus Chen of Earth, my bonded consort. Our bond was called a mistake, an accident, a contamination. Her voice rang with power. But this bond saved my life. This bond helped us pass trials that have stood for millennia. And this bond has shown us that unity between species is not weakness. It is evolution. On every screen, images appeared of Marcus and Shivara working together in the trials in the war room, fighting side by side. The Cortax Dominion attacked us because they feared this unity, Shivara continued. The traitor houses betrayed us because they couldn't accept change. But look at what we have accomplished together in mere hours. Imagine what we could accomplish in years, in centuries. Through the communication networks, something unexpected happened. Thessaran ships that had been compromised began switching sides. Crews who had been blackmailed or threatened found courage in their queen's words. Some of the traitor houses, seeing the battle turning, abandoned the Cortax. The Cortax flagship, now isolated, tried to complete its suicide run. But the combined Thessaran human fleet intercepted it perfectly, using a coordinated strike that Marcus and Shivara designed together through the bond in real time. The flagship exploded safely away from the planet. The remaining Cortax forces retreated. The battle was won. The war room erupted in cheers. Humans and Thesserans embraced, celebrating together. Marcus felt his knees go weak with relief and exhaustion. Through the bond, Shivara's presence wrapped around him like a warm embrace. She was coming to him, he realized, leaving her command center to find him. They met in a corridor halfway between their positions. For a moment, they just looked at each other, the bond humming with shared emotions too complex for words. "We did it," Marcus said simply. "No," Shivara corrected, taking his hand. "We became it, a true bond, a bridge between worlds." She led him to the palace balcony overlooking the city. Above them, the twin suns were setting while Earth's star appeared as a bright point in the darkening sky. The combined fleet flew overhead in formation, Thesseran and human ships side by side. "The Council will officially recognize you as my consort now," Shivara said, "and humanity as equal partners in the Empire. No more tests, no more trials." Marcus smiled. "Just the work of actually building this alliance." "Just that," she agreed. And through the bond, he felt her amusement and affection. Below them, crowds gathered in celebration. Thesserans and humans mixed freely, united by the battle they had won together. Marcus thought about the frightened xenoanthropologist who had stepped off a shuttle just weeks ago, terrified of making a mistake. He had made a mistake, the biggest one imaginable, and it had changed everything. "What are you thinking?" Shivara asked, sensing his emotions through the bond. "That sometimes the best things in life are complete accidents." She laughed, a sound he had never heard from her before. "Then I am grateful for accidents," Marcus Chen of Earth. They stood together as night fell on Thessera Prime, watching their two civilizations begin a new chapter. The bond that had started as a diplomatic disaster had become something neither species expected. It had become hope. The end Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.